Hello, I'm Lisa Arana and welcome to another Assemble This video. Today we're going to be assembling this lovely reflected lake scene. I just love the look of the soft sunrise created with distress inks and some simple stamping. I'm featuring the No Better Words December 2020 stamp set from Unity Stamp Company. There are lots of great little images in this kit to create a tree scene, plus a variety of supportive, sympathy, and all occasion sentiments. I'm starting out by getting an idea of where my trees are going to be in this scene. I'm using some Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper. It's a sturdier paper with a smooth surface, perfect for ink blending, but you could use regular cardstock like Nina, but the blending might take a little bit more work. I'll use both, but I'm liking the ease of blending and the look of Bristol Smooth lately. So I just laid down an idea of where that tree line is going to be with my pencil, and then I'm starting to blend on some distress ink in tumbled glass. And I'm doing light layers, just building up the color over and over and over again, up until I get the depth of color that I was looking for. And then just to create a little bit more dimension, I'm using a bit of faded jeans around the bottom edge and just a little bit in the center, just to create again that depth of color and a little bit of a vignette around the tumbled glass blend. And again, I'm just double checking my tree line to make sure that I have enough of the blue going up into those trees. Next, I'm going to get an idea of where I'm going to put my sun, and I'm stamping that down with some fossilized amber. I'm just filling that in a few times, and then I'm just going to take a blender brush and just move around some of that ink. I took it a little bit from what's stamped on the paper and then a little bit from what was left over on the stamp and in the ink pad. And then I'm just going to create a bit of a halo as well. I want a bit of that sunrise shine kind of haloing around my sun as it comes up over the horizon. Next, we're going to work on the sky. Again, I grabbed that tumbled glass and I'm just going to, again, lightly fill in, leave a little bit of white spots for clouds and things, just to create like a depth of sky. Now I Googled a bunch of different sky scenes to kind of get an idea of what colors are in the sky that I like when the sun was rising. And the main colors were the yellow from the sun, a little bit of red, a little bit of purple, and of course blue from the sky. So those are the colors that I'm using. I just put on a little bit of Dusty Concord for the purple, and then I'm using a thinner, smaller blending brush for, again, that fossilized amber, and I'm creating lines of color. And I'm just blending that from side to side and kind of going over some of the purple and the blue, and then just creating nice little lines. And then I'm also adding in a bit of festive berries for the red and just kind of blending that on. I'm keeping a lighter hand. I didn't go as dark with this background just because I felt like with a sunrise everything is lighter rather than with a sunset where you just kind of feel like everything's getting darker and darker. So I kept this one fairly light because I felt like that was more of a sunrise feeling. So I just keep layering the colors and filling in where I feel like there might be a little bit more color necessary. What's interesting about distress inks and this paper, the Bristol, it will sink in and lighten up a little bit and blend on its own. So it will change slightly. If you feel like your colors are really stark and dark, they do kind of lighten up as they blend in and dry into the paper. So I felt like that was happening with the bottom lake part of the paper, so I added a bit more of that faded jeans to get the depth back. So now I want to stamp my trees, and I'm using a transparency, and I have my Misty in the landscape position because I need to be able to move my card on either side of the trees that I'm stamping. I'm using some VersaFine ink, and just that's in tuxedo black, and I'm just stamping down my trees multiple times, make sure I get a nice solid image. And then I'm just going to flip that over and line that up underneath the transparency image I have, and then it kind of moved, so I have to reposition it again. And once I get that into place, I'm going to use a magnet to make sure it doesn't move this time. And then I'm going to use that as the reflection into the lake. So I'm taking a piece of Post-it note paper, and I'm just going to tear it along the edge so it kind of matches the bottom of the tree line. I'm just going to take my scissors here and trim that down so it kind of matches better. That way when I stamp my trees, it'll blend into the tree line. And you notice I did not re-ink my stamp. I just used what was left over from the previous stamp, and that's going to create the nice light reflection that we have into the lake. So perfect. So now I'm just going to stamp some clouds into the sky. I'm starting out with the largest cloud and just kind of moving those around. I'm using hickory smoke for the color. There are 3 sizes of clouds in this kit, and I'm going to use them all. So I started out with the largest one. Now I'm going to layer on the medium-sized cloud, just kind of spacing those where I think they'll look good. And I like to connect them as well, so I'm kind of placing them thinking of the third stamp and how they might connect together. Then last is the thin line cloud. And I like this one a lot. It reminds me of the light wispy clouds as they move, as the wind kind of moves them across the sky, and how they'll connect clouds. So that's why I included that cloud in this kit. And then we're just going to connect this top set up here. Perfect. So it's kind of fun just to play around with the placement of these clouds. Each sky will be just a little bit different, so you can always make them a little bit different and individual each time. So now I'm going to use that same cloud stamp and create a horizon line. And I'm just going to use it like it's some bushes, or again just kind of grass or the edge of the lake. And I'm layering that up through the whole horizon line. Just creates a nice texture of like nature. Again, that lake is getting lighter and lighter, and so I added a little bit more of the faded jeans just to kind of darken it up. I'm still keeping the center light with that original layer of tumbled glass though. Next I wanted to do a few splatters, so I took some black soot, added a bit of water, and then just picked it up with my paintbrush, and I'm just flicking that onto my cardstock here. And then to assemble the card, I have a pretty piece of chevron blue paper that I covered my card base in, and then another strip of black cardstock that I die cut or scalloped edged the one side. And I'm kind of getting an idea of how big I want that matted piece, and what I also want to put my sentiment on. I think I want to do the black. So I'm covering that with my embossing buddies so my embossing powder doesn't stick to the areas that's not the stamp. Kind of keeps the static down. I stamped a different stamp. This is Birthday Wishes, and it's from the Aging Gorgeously sentiment kit. And I just stamped that in Versamark ink and then covered it with some white embossing powder, and then wiped away any stray pieces of the embossing powder with a paintbrush. Just going to heat that up, set that, and then trim that down a little bit. Now with this matted piece of black cardstock, I felt like it was just a smidge too big, so I'm going to trim that down just a little bit. And perfect. I'm liking that much better, I think. And then I think I'm going to put the sentiment down in that corner there. But first I want to add a little bit of texture to this card, so I'm going to use some burlap string. I think this is the lightest, so this is the ivory color. Just kind of get an idea of where I want to put that bow, and I like that placement right there. So we're just going to tighten that up and then just tie a quick little bow at the bottom here. Kind of fiddle around with that. And then I'm going to glue that directly down onto the card front just with some tape adhesive. And then I'll add a bit of foam tape behind my tree scene panel. Just tear that off and then slide that in and underneath my bow here. Just kind of line it up so it's centered in the middle of that black matted area. Just kind of flatten everything out and then fiddle with my bow. Always fiddling with those bows. And then I'm just going to notch out the end of my sentiment banner. I cut a little bit through the center and then come from end to end to the top of that slit. Add a little bit of foam tape to the back of my sentiment and then pop that up onto my card front right near the bow. And then the last thing I want to do is add a few Nuvo drops. I thought about the yellow, but I really liked the kind of darker turquoise color. This is the Neptune Turquoise Nuvo drop. And here is the finished card. I just love the lightness of the sunrise. It really does feel like the sun is coming up over the trees and causing them to reflect into the lake. Just pick your perfect sentiment for any occasion. And I just love this idea for masculine cards as well. I'll have all the supplies linked in the description of this video. If you have any questions or a sweet comment, post below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye.